Hi everyone, welcome on Money A. I am Mark, and today we have the pleasure to talk about Avanti Energy, a company focused on the exploration, development, and production of helium. And to talk about this company, I will have the pleasure to host Chris Bakker, CEO. How are you, Chris?
I'm great, thank you. Great to be here.
So before we go further about the fundamentals, this type of explanation, could you say what is Avanti Energy? What's the story behind the company?
Yeah, Avanti Energy we're a pure play helium exploration company, and we were founded with a group of proven oil and gas professionals that saw an opportunity to pivot our skills into this new field. So helium exploration is on a pure play basis is relatively new,
Mm-hmm.
but the skill set and the technology and everything else, the execution of it all is very similar to oil and gas.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were quite excited to be able to apply our skills in this new area.
And so could you say how big is the market and how is it supposed to evolve?
Yeah, it's about 6 billion cubic feet a year. Um, so that works out into billions of dollars, whether you're in wholesale or
Mhm.
retail, depends. It's multiples at the retail level, but its value on a per cubic foot is how we measure it basis
Okay.
is substantially higher. It's roughly about 100 times more valuable than natural gas,
Okay.
and on a volume basis. And so that makes it quite intriguing for us. And so you can do quite well with fairly modest shows of helium in your production.
Oh, this is very interesting. And as you were saying, this type of sector is pretty new. And could you say how it's going to be useful, sorry, for the future for like type of technologies?
Yeah. I mean, the base level demand for helium is in things like MRI machines and lifting, like balloons and that sort of thing, and welding. But the what's really interesting to us is the growth areas are all in the high tech sectors.
Okay.
So semiconductor manufacturing requires helium. Fiber optic manufacturing requires helium. They use it to purge rockets. So the billionaires going to
Okay.
space, they need a lot of helium to do that. They use it for nuclear facilities, which is also something that I think is in the growth phase right now. They use it for purging and leak detection in
Okay.
nuclear facilities there. And there's some real cutting edge stuff too, like fusion reactors that requires liquid helium in most cases, and quantum computing. So helium, and just to explain some of that, is the boiling point of helium is very, very close to absolute zero. So in Celsius, it's around minus 272 degrees Celsius.
Okay.
And so that, as I understand it, a lot of electronics operate in very unique and useful ways at those cold temperatures, and in ways that we don't see it at normal temperatures. And so helium provides the opportunity to create that environment for these interesting and I think really cutting edge electronic ideas that are out there.
Okay, I see. Because like when we hear about future materials or energy, you always hear about lithium or nuclear. Sorry, and the fact that now even nuclear, we have to use helium, as you were saying, shows the way helium is going. And if we're talking about projects, the first thing I saw about Avanti was the nameplant project.
Yeah,
So
greater napping, we call it. Yeah,
okay, so sorry for my accent.
that's
And
okay.
so, could you talk more about this project?
Yeah, that's the first of our core properties that we've announced, and so we have approximately 70,000 acres of land, mostly in Montana and a little bit in Alberta. Right, it's basically a contiguous play that cuts across the border,
Okay.
and uh, we've put an awful lot of work. Our geological and geophysical teams put an awful lot of work into developing that property and identifying the opportunities there. And so we see 10 distinct structures to drill into. So again, this is very much like natural gas. We need a drilling rig. And what I would say is that it's like natural gas from about 20 years ago before shale. And so you're
Okay.
looking for these geologic structures to drill into. And we've identified 10 of those and are literally drilling is just imminent on
Okay.
property now. So
So wait, when will you announce the results for these drillings?
Sorry, say again.
When will you announce the results of all of it?
Oh, there'll be some interim results in January. And so what we're going to do is we have a 3-well program. And that is starting like probably next Tuesday. If everything goes, we'll give the guys a few days off for Christmas, and the rig is there. I just got the update. The rig is there, and it's partly set up, and they'll finish setting up after Christmas, and we should spud Tuesday if all goes well. The wells are 10 to 14 days each for drilling, and we'll have some interim results after each well, but we need to do completions on these wells also. So there'll be some interim results that'll come out in January, and then the completions will follow, because we can get, honestly, we can save a lot of money if we do all 3 wells at once.
Okay.
And so we'll be doing that probably in February, and the full results of the wells would come out following that. So it'd be in this quarter when you'd see early results and some indicative ideas of what we found, and then proper flow results and everything else would come out later in the quarter.
Okay, so basically, like, if investors are listening to us and they would ask us when they should invest in Avanti, so basically it should be now, because the results are going to be released soon, so in the next quarter.
I always say that in a company like ours, there's certain events are real step changes in value creation, and starting the drilling program is often one of those big steps. So now seems like a great time.
Okay, I see. Perfect. I hope they will hear about it and they remember about this part.
Yeah.
And so I'm just gonna go in the hypothetical way. If these results are successful, in how many months the well should be paid back?
Yeah, when we go to production, the wells will be anywhere from 3 to 6 months. A successful well can pay back on its drilling costs, which is really quite attractive in terms of capital return. To get there, because we're new in the property, we'll have to build facilities, and so these first wells will take longer. But subsequent wells would be in that 3 to 6 month range on the success case.
Okay, and so would it be possible to mention the expenses for each well? So what are the costs that you need to spend on it?
Sure, we're about 1.4 million per well to drill.
Okay.
And then the completions is really going to depend on what we see. So we're doing a bunch of testing, and we'll tailor the completions to what kind of rocks and what kind of pressures and that sort of things we see down there. So it could range anywhere from the low 100,000s up to maybe 700,000 per well for completions.
Okay.
But we'll really tailor it. And the nice thing is that at that point, because of the drilling results and the drill stem testing that we've done, that the completions money should be very well spent. I guess it's not terribly risky at that point. It's really about optimization.
Okay, and so you were saying you had 3 wells, right?
Yes.
Okay, and so what cash flow would it generate for the year 22?
22, if we see cash flow, it'll be at the very end of the year, because of the time it takes to get the facilities built. So we can't order those facilities in advance, because we need to see the gas analysis and understand what we have for volume and that sort of thing, and quantity of helium. So once we have those results, we can start working with the engineering firms that design and supply those facilities. They tell us that it's about 6 months to deliver, but with supply chain issues these days, we have to be a little bit honest about that, and honest with ourselves on the timeline. So I would say Q4 is possible, but it might be a bit of a stretch depending on how the supply chains work.
Okay.
So it might trickle into Q1 the next year.
Okay, I see. And just because you were talking about some supply chain issues, could you just develop a little bit about it? So what are the issues on it?
Well, it's just, we found, I think we've seen it in all industries, there's an awful lot of challenges finding some basic critical materials. And so, in the facility side of things, I hope everything is available for us. But if they can't get the right amount of steel or the right type of steel to create it, for example, or there's a bottleneck in the steel plants, we may have to get in queue for something like that. I can't foresee with perfection how that's going to play out. I think it's going to be okay, but a lot of sales guys, right? They're going to give you the best story until it's time to
Oh,
those times.
this is perfect. The fact that just like you are able to schedule and to tell us when I should start or when you should be
Yeah,
positive. This type of thing is very interesting.
yeah,
And,
yeah,
and just for your last financial statement, you reported an 8-cent loss per share. Also, if we convert it, it would be a 7.3 million loss for the 9 months ended. And
yeah.
so, could you just say again what are your biggest expenditures for this drilling for these wells?
Sure. It's almost of the expenditure to date. The large majority is actually the land acquisition.
Okay.
That's 70,000 acres that we've put together on this Greater Napan property. We have to pay the people who own the minerals. We have to acquire those
Mhm.
from them. So that's the biggest portion, and then I think the next biggest slice of the pie is just G&A, right? We've got the best team in the business, and that doesn't come free. And
Yeah,
we've got
definitely.
just general admin expenses.
Okay. So I was just talking about, I would say the dark clouds, just like the
Yeah.
loss, but because you are investing, you are drilling, it's like all the type of thing. But I would say on the brighter side, you have 7 million in cash for no debt. And
Yeah.
so could we see any other private placement in the future to acquire, new projects?
Yeah, I think it's reasonable that we're funded for our current program, and but I think it's reasonable to think that we're going to require more capital to go forward, right?
Mhm.
We have. I think the success case for us would be drilling an additional 10 to 20 wells next year.
Okay.
At that cost that we mentioned. So that'll require a fair amount of activity in the equity markets to get there.
Okay, perfect. So, I was about to ask if you were planning to acquire other projects, but the fact you were saying 10 to 12 in the future, you already solved my question. And so, if we're talking about a more long-term vision, so now we're going to
Yeah.
enjoy the year 22, so let's say 2027, where would you see the company at in the future?
I we've always taken the approach that first of all, in the land position, that we want to have a portfolio of properties. So 5 to 7 equivalents of Greater Napan would be our goal. And 5 years down, I think 5 years down the road, I think all of them would be producing. And I think there's a reasonable case to say that we're the maybe number 2 or number 3 producer in North America for helium,
Okay.
and certainly one of the biggest pure play helium plays.
Okay.
The other big producers tend to produce it associated with natural gas as helium is the byproduct for them, and our approach is that we're pursuing helium as a primary product.
Mhm.
So I think there's a legitimate path to see us being the biggest pure play and perhaps the second biggest producer in 5 years.
Okay, so basically, I would say the biggest player in the future of energy, right?
Yeah, in
It would be
helium.
the
Yeah,
vision.
yeah, exactly. We'd love to be the name that defines the industry. There's a half a dozen or so other companies out there, but we think we have the best rocks and the best team,
Mhm.
and we'd like to be what everybody else is, the company that everybody else is measured against.
Okay, I see. And so because we're talking a lot about this project exploration, this type of thing, more on the material stuff, but if we could focus on the management board, what is the motivating the board to accomplish this type of project?
Yeah, as I mentioned with you earlier, that our core group that we started with, and we've built on our quite a substantial technical team here, but
Hmm.
we all had tremendous success in the oil and gas world, and kind of have left our mark in that side of things. And our ability to redeploy our skills in this new industry has been really motivating for people, and our team loves the idea of being able to leave a similar significant mark in a new industry, and it's highly motivating. It's very energizing to go through this process of learning something new, and discovering new things about this industry that's fairly nascent in our minds.
Okay, perfect. So, I would like to thank you about for you taking some of your time to answer my questions. I would say it was short but sharp. Thank you for answering very accurately all of my questions.
Yeah,
Uh,
my pleasure.
I'm looking forward to your company because, and I think we have to mention it again. This is the new type of energy for the future, high technologies. This is the right company in the right sector, basically. So I'm excited to see where in the long term it will be.
Excellent. Thanks very much for your time, Mark.
Perfect. Thank you.